Are we having a party here? I don't know.
Welcome to Polishing Profits. Join our 3 industry experts boasting 140 years of experience as they unlock building service contracting secrets that can revolutionize your business.
Well, hello, and welcome to the Polishing Profits podcast, where we're going to polish profits. No, we're going to tell you how to polish profits, and you're going to polish them. And that's how it works, right, guys?
That's right. That's right.
We sold our companies. Okay. Ed, greetings and salutations. What do we got today? Everybody waits for this.
No, we sold all the companies, man. They're all gone. So
along with our mind half the time. Okay, Sharon, say hello to everybody.
We polished our profits.
We polished our
profits. It's all polished off.
It's all polished up. Did you use a Burnisher or just a 125? I mean,
a full-fledged Burnisher.
There you go. You'll love this. Remember when the propane burners first came out, the propane burnishing machines?
Yep.
We got this bright idea. None of us thought this through. We had hallways that were in this large complex. We thought, this is great. We're going to go faster. These things are going to pop. Everybody's on us. So we bring the Burnisher in. Well, nobody thought about the enclosed hallways and how much the airflow takes propane gas out of the area. We set every alarm off on the facilities. Almost lost the account. And we couldn't bring anything in unless it went through EHV after that point, Environmental Health Services. So, yeah, you get in all kinds of trouble when you don't know what you're doing. So
when that first came out, that was the first time that I considered anything retail.
Mm-hmm.
And I went out and I got me some retail accounts at drugstores. And it was just for strips, you know. And there wasn't a lot. There was like maybe 2 a month or something like that, you know. Mm-hmm. And I had one of the facility managers said, hey, listen, do you remember that store number, blah, 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 up in, West Undershirt? And I was like, yeah. He says, well, I'm afraid that one's not good. I says, well, it was 6 weeks ago. So I go up there and it hadn't been swept or mopped. So naturally it doesn't look good.
Right.
And so I get back with the guy and I said, look, it's not a problem, man. I mean, we're happy to take care of it. It'll be the same price. He says, oh, no, you're going to do that for free. And I says, oh, no, you got to find somebody new. You got to find somebody new in the business. I don't do that kind of stuff for free. I just don't.
Well, so, here's the good news. Here's the good news to our listeners. This is what happens occasionally. So normally we'd pre-roll this thing and get it out of here, but we'll let this one stand. But we're really not going to talk about burnishers today. We're going to move over to our resident expert, subject matter expert, Sharon. And we're going to talk some post-construction cleaning, something you can actually do something with and make some additional money for yourself. So Sharon, we're going to talk a little post-construction cleaning here, a couple of episodes. And I'm going to turn it over to you, and you can give us an outline of what we're going to do for the audience, things we're going to talk about, and then we'll just get on the roundtable side of things.
Sure. We're going to approach this from a couple different angles, and one being the need for post-construction cleanup, another one being some of the pitfalls. Where can you get into big trouble financially and otherwise? And how do you get the post-construction jobs? How do you market to them? Where do you find them? And we'll talk a little bit about pricing, and we'll take it from there. Staffing, supervision, some of that. Because it is a different entity. It's really very different from regular janitorial work, residential cleaning, window cleaning, carpet. It's a very unique specialty. And it's not for everybody. So because you have a cleaning company, people assume that you do all the kinds of cleaning that there are. You may get phone calls about, will you clean this post-construction? If you've never done it before, I'm not telling you not to do it, but I am telling you need to get some guidance and some help, because you can do one of two things. You can make a lot of money in that entity, or you can lose your shirt. One of the, And so I think what we really want is the make a lot of money part. A few mistakes here and there, and you can lose all your profit and be upside down in a tea kettle. So I think first we'll talk about the need. And I know Ed's mentioned a lot of activity in the groups that he monitors, a lot of questions about post-construction. It is top of mind in a lot of regions of the country where there is a lot of growth and a lot of building. This kind of industry is very cyclical. It comes and it goes, and a lot of it depends on what's happening with the economy and what's happening with interest rates. What we're seeing now is the result of some good interest rates when projects got started, and they're coming to fruition now. They're coming toward the end of that cycle. And so we have a lot of need for post-construction cleanup now. And let me just say that Facebook is the last place you want to go to learn how to price it. What I've seen in some of the groups, it's just shoot me.
Sorry,
Please.
seen some of those answers.
Oh my gosh. How many cents per square foot and how much of this? What should I charge? The what should I charge question that we all get.
Yeah, my favorite ones are the ones that have 20, 25 comments.
Yes.
Because if you add up all the prices and then divide it, what you wind up with is like, look, it's going to be someplace between 35 cents a square foot and $2.75 a square foot.
Yes.
Hope that helps.
That's
Do a little math.
Right. So it is cyclical. It's something that you can, I recommend if you're going to do it, you make a real division in your company, a real department, post-construction cleanup department, and have somebody manage that and really go after it. Because it is such a unique specialty, it's going to be very disruptive to your core business unless you make it a total division. So doing it half-assed, to use the language, but doing it
That's all right.
is not going to be necessarily productive. So
on that, let's just
yeah.
Hey, Sharon, I got a question for you. Let's talk about in our show notes. You made you have one good question in here, and you just brushed on it. Why, when considering diversification, what do you need to understand about the construction industry cleaning that is a lot different than if you're just servicing buildings? And is it a smart thing for you to diversify? So let's, if we can just back the truck up a hair before we move forward on that, I think.
Yeah.
Particularly after the Facebook comment, it got me thinking about that.
Yeah.
What am I getting into if I do this? Okay.
Yeah. Well, there are some definite pitfalls, things that you want to be aware of. And a couple of them are typically contractors are slow to pay. Okay. They're typically not 30 days. They're often 45 to 60-day payout when the job is complete. So you can get around that by doing a draw kind of system, that you have a deposit when you get started, and then every week or every 2 weeks, you get a draw on what your total amount is. These construction jobs can be dragged out much to the downside for the contractor, because they may say they're ready on Monday and you visit the job site Monday morning and there's no way they're ready. They have 500 tradespeople in there tearing the place up, and you cannot work around the tradespeople. So now we're dragged out to next week. And then you do partition, maybe you work 2 or 3 days on the job, and they halt the progress because they've got an issue. They're waiting on parts. They're waiting on their equipment. And so now you're dragged out another 2 weeks till they're ready for you again. Okay, now you have people to pay that work those first few days. So there's nothing regular about the scheduling. And they can want you to come the next day. I need 3 people here tomorrow because we're ready with this part of the building. So it is very sporadic. It can be very upending and be very disturbing to the rest of your business if you don't have a separate division and someone managing that. Okay. One of the other problems or issues is it needs a lot of supervision. Did you have a question, Ed? Were you going to ask me something?
I was just going to say that Mark brought up something about like separating it out and having a separate division. Okay.
Right.
What it looked like to me, okay, it looked really, really close to the disaster, the flood and fire people.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it looked like to me. It looked like that's what. Well, because I mean,
It is.
It does at times.
yeah, I mean, nobody's going to have a fire, like every week,
Right.
hopefully.
Right. Right.
So that's what it always looked like to me, that it was kind of a, that sort of staffing and
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Very
I
sporadic.
think, Ed, let me hitchhike off that for a second, Ed. And we're talking about divisions, and you're thinking, I'm not big enough for a division. Well, then you have to divide your time to manage these things, back to Sharon's point, because they're not at night. At night you walk in, usually nobody's there, you're undisturbed, you do your work, you get out. These are days. A lot of this is day support.
Yes.
And some of it early evening. So, and it is a different industry, different expectations, different contamination or dirt, whatever you want to call it. And you think they get messed up in offices if you haven't done construction cleanup. Ed's not far off when it says you can walk in and it looks like a disaster. They have a water pipe break on a commercial thing or something. You've got a mess. Trades don't clean up. So you have to not necessarily have a different division, but you have to divide your time accordingly between the work you have and is it worth doing this, or do you have somebody that will take the construction work you can trust? So I just kind of wanted to throw that in for those who go, well, gee, I don't want to build a division. Well, we all did because that's where we were at that time when we were service and construction industries. But the division thinking's got to be there. It's not the same. It's called cleaning, and that's about all it has in common and you use some of the same tools. And that's about the end of where the comparison begins and ends, in my book.
Right. I promoted one of my best cleaners, and she was excellent at post-construction. It's a different kind of cleaning. So it takes somebody that can be very agile, move on ladders. It's not routine. You're up in the air a lot of times, either on scaffolding or ladders or what have you. But I promoted someone from the ranks of my residential division because it was daytime.
Mm-hmm.
And she managed all the construction. And we did a lot of it. It was a full-blown division in my company. But I would say it was not the top. It was not what my other divisions were. But it can be very lucrative. But boy, when you make a mistake, a lot of it is one-time cleaning also. Go ahead.
You hit it at the right time in the right spot also, Sharon. I mean, you were right there with the boom going on.
Yes, it was. Yeah. And once you get in with one contractor and they can depend on you, a builder, they will use you for all of their work. Mm-hmm. But oftentimes it can be a one-time in and out. There is other opportunity for you to get more business from that when you meet the tenants or the owners of the buildings that you're cleaning to get regular janitorial service. That's especially good when you're doing a tract subdivision. Okay, let's say home builders. Those are so easy to do. And they're usually a 2 to 3 year project. When it's a build out of 200 homes, you're going to be there a while. And that's when you form that separate division. And you get an opportunity then to clean the model homes, if there are models in that subdivision. There's a construction trailer, you clean that. You also then get an opportunity to offer special pricing to the home buyers who are going to do that, if you have a residential division, if you're interested in doing that. So there is a lot of opportunity. And same with the commercial buildings. You can get in it with the other tenants when you're there. So it doesn't have to be one time, but oftentimes it really is. And these jobs need a lot of
support. You make a good point.
Yeah.
You make a good point getting in with, we did that. You get in with a builder, a commercial builder, or a home builder, even if they're only doing a small division, 40 or 50 homes, things like that.
Right.
So for a moment, how are our opportunities? Ed, you made a statement earlier that said, well, Sharon was there during the boom, and I was there during a big part of that boom in high tech and clean rooms as well. We had a whole division. I had a manager for 7 years. That's all we did. But that's not all we did. That's all that division did was construction clean. But where are the opportunities today? We're talking about people building homes with small offices, large industrial complexes. What's the opportunity look like today? You follow a lot of this, Ed. So what are your thoughts on? I know it depends on where you live, but what are some of
Well,
the
well,
opportunities?
in addition to brand new construction, there is renovation. And it's pretty much wherever you've got an expansion of when companies are expanding. Okay, they're either building new buildings or they're adding on to their old buildings, one or the other. Okay,
Right.
and that's a pretty good place to be if that's your if that's your forte. Myself, I people are going to shoot me for this, but I didn't charge for construction cleaning.
You're gonna have to explain that, okay? We know the
Yeah,
answer, but
right.
Okay, in a multi-tenant building, there is always construction going on because leases run out and leases come into there's new leases. Okay, and every time there's a build out. Okay, it's a pretty standard thing that when you sign a lease, that part of that is going to be some construction going on. And for us, if the space was empty, we weren't making any money. It was a vacant space credit. So we weren't getting paid for the space when it needed to be renovated. Okay, I didn't charge him because we would start billing from there. We made money, every month afterwards. And the other thing was the management company a lot of times didn't have a real good thumb on the contractors at all. So, you could be in a good building with a good building manager, okay, but they bring in a construction guy and everything falls to crap. So that was another issue.
and when you're talking about renovation, in a lot of cities now, this gets into a whole different topic. But with office space down, more people working from home, building owners are trying to figure, well, what do I do with this asset? As people get rid of their leases, they don't want as much space. And they're starting to flip that space into apartments, condos, and it's going to
Right.
bring a whole nother level of need for construction cleanup.
Well, and
Well,
you know,
construction, if you're really, no, I'm sorry, go ahead, Sharon.
no, go ahead.
No, what I was going to say is if this is something that you're interested in, be taking a look at the construction for senior housing. It's got to explode. It has to explode. If you're just looking at the demographics, we are, there's just going to be more and more seniors. That's really all it boils down to.
Yes.
Well, thank goodness that's not us.
Yeah.
When you see that could be a really good steady stream of construction cleaning.
That's a
Well,
really good point. I'm
Yeah. I was going to say the other piece of that is when you clean a renovation and you're doing part of the building, you can't just leave it at that. You have to do the surrounding areas. In a home, for example, if a remodeled kitchen happened, you have to clean the entire home with a post-construction cleanup because when there's drywall dust and sawdust and all of those particulates, they go into the air vent system and they circulate in the vent and they come down in all the other rooms that are neighboring. So you have to really clean all of those areas, the whole house. So it goes from construction cleaning to a whole building cleaning. And now in a large building, you wouldn't have to clean because it wouldn't go that far, but you would need to wipe the surrounding offices, or they would have to have their own people if they've got other contractors, because there's going to be dust. A good 3 months is average that construction dust is going to drop from the vents. It's just a fact.
It takes it that long to circulate through their HVAC systems.
And the bigger the complex or the building or site, they just can't clean the ventilation system to do that. It just has to work its way through, as Ed said. If it's a small building, they can send in vent cleaners and all that stuff and pretty much remove, like a home. I know a lot of home builders, they actually run a vacuum through the HVAC system for the house.
They cover the vents, and that's helpful if they cover the vents. And let me touch on one before we wrap this one. One other point about the pitfalls or some of the things to be aware of if you're doing this kind of work, and that is the need for complete and total supervision of the cleaners. It's very rare that you can send the cleaners to a construction job site and leave them unsupervised. It's just is not a good idea. They need to be, because their time is very particular in terms of overruns of labor. Our production rate in post-construction cleanup is about 150 square feet an hour. So that tells you that they've got to move. They can't go slower than that. If they go faster than that, you can watch and make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. But that's the average in the industry, 150 square feet an hour. So
is that a final clean, Sharon? Is that a final clean for before the house is turned over for sale?
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Or the property is allowed a certificate of occupancy. Okay.
Right. That's about what it takes. So it's something to be aware of, that you need to have a plan. One of the things I always did was have a cleaning plan. When I would look at the building, I would section it into quadrants. And so day one, we might work in this quadrant. And day two, we might work in this other quadrant, and so forth as we got through the building. But if you let loose 5 cleaners in a building, you're going to have wasted time, you're going to have chaos and labor overruns. You're going to be upside down in a heartbeat if you don't control and say, folks, we're cleaning this, you're cleaning this, you're cleaning this, you're cleaning this, and we have 2 hours in this area to get this done. You have to be that specific with them. You can't just let them go at it, because it's you're going to end up paying the price big time if you do that. So
this brings us to the close. Should you think about it? Is it something that's relevant? Again, we said it depends on where you're living, but people are always building homes, renovating things, both commercial and residential. With that said, I think Sharon, how would you best close this particular section up before we run into section 2 on how to make money and not lose your shirt or your shorts if you decide to go after it?
You have to be aware, you have to know that it's not just cleaning. Just because you're a cleaning company doesn't mean you necessarily should be doing this. You really need to think about it, think if this is something you want to pursue, and get some help with the planning, the organizing, the control. The control that you use on these kinds of jobs is going to pay off in the long run, because without it, as I said before, you're going to be upside down, or you're great, and you have a lot of liability, a lot of risk and liability. So you want to give it some thought and be sure this is something you don't want to just jump into because you're a cleaning company. It's like I said, just because it has a toilet doesn't mean you need to clean it. So just because someone asks you to do a post-construction, if you've never done it, don't start out with a 100,000 square foot building. If you've not done it before.
You start out with a 2,000 square foot building or one house.
Yes.
That's where I started.
You're going to make mistakes, and make them on the small properties.
All right, great. Good advice. And so we don't do this often, but if you are thinking about getting into it, or you've been into it and wondering, how can I do better? Sharon, you've got a great course on that. Just, you want to speak to it for a minute? We're going to do it in the other episode. People are going to wonder, where do I get information?
Yeah, you can go to my cleaningbusinessconsultinggroup.com and go to the store, and you'll see a description of the course. It takes you step by step on what to do, what to look for. There's a download at the end with the supply list, check sheets, sign-off sheets for the supervisor to sign off, and the project manager. So it's a fairly complete course. And if you listen to section 2, there may actually be an offer for this course. So listen to the second part and wait for the announcement.
So I'll close with this, but wait, there's more. Adios.